Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm here to do a response video to Uber Hikari's video about Luffy's characterization. So, I'm back. Like I was saying, I'm doing a response to Uber Hikari. He says that Luffy had bad characterization. I'm going to go ahead and go over that. Alright, first off, Uber, if you watch the video, he says the word complex about 40 times. Pay attention to that. And then when he talks about good characters, he always says complex characters. Then when he talks about, the character's emotions, he says complex emotions, So what does that mean? Uber Hikari is, first of all, like, I'm trying to say he's over-exaggerating Luffy. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm saying he's over-exaggerating by a good deal. He's biased towards more complex characters. Luffy is not my favorite character in One Piece. Luffy is not. Y'all already know who my favorite character is. I said it plenty of times. Usopp. So I have no bias, towards Luffy. Period. Luffy just ain't my cup of tea, although I do like him. Another thing Uber Hikari says is that Luffy has no backstory. That's just a plain, straight up and down, outright false. It's just straight up and down false. The first chapter is the backstory. The very first chapter, which gives him set up for the way he acts and who he is and why he wants to become the Pirate King. He was influenced by a pirate called Redhead Shanks, who was influenced by Gold Roger himself, the original Pirate King. Shanks, he takes everything lightly. He got that from Gold Roger. He was on Gold Roger's ship. He's Gold Roger's protege. He acts very similar to Gold Roger. He takes friends very seriously. Hence, that's where Luffy gets it from. He saved Luffy's life. Hence is why he's so emotional and passionate about that hat and about finding One Piece. That setup, that's all the setup you need to get a character started. I mean, what was the first chapter was like 40 pages, something like that, and that basically set up what Luffy is now. The thing about Luffy is it does take a long time to get from one developing sequence to another sequence of development, and Uber's dead on the money about that. One Piece has been stretched by Oda because it became popular. Anyway, reflecting on his, morals and all that kind of stuff and decisions he makes, he's a stubborn character. And he doesn't really look back on things. He just goes with the flow. Now, Uber made a video, talking about how people have started using stories to actually correlate with real life, realism, so that people can better relate to the characters. Now, would you say that it's logical that is people in the world that are very stubborn and don't really look? I mean, you come from the same place I come from. I see people we in the inner city. I see people all the time do dumb stuff and just don't even consider the consequence. Just do it. I've seen it a lot of times. People just do dumb stuff, don't consider, and when they get done with it, they don't even care. They just go on about it. Those actions that he makes is cliche. When I say he's a cliche character, the thing about that is, so far, yeah, but the end of One Piece is really going to determine whether he's truly a cliche. And I'll get to that later on in the video. There are Luffy's out in the real world, so we can't have every character be, super complex, just super genius with a whole bunch of emotional issues. That's not realistic. That's not real. It's realistic to have once, twice here and there, but not everybody's gonna be like that, and not every main protagonist has to be like that. He does have two times where he actually does reflect back on what he did, and they're pretty much both the same. He's talking about his crew and Ace, how he couldn't save Ace, how he's useless, how he needs to protect his crew and what happened in Shibondi. So he does have those, you know, those times where he goes back and says, you know, I got to do more, you know, for my crew. We got to get strong and blah blah blah, stuff like that. But that's only very minor. The thing about having an idiot character, there's idiots in the real world. You know, realism. I see idiots all the time, and that's just what it is. Now, the thing about idiots is basically what's going on with Luffy. You don't build up Luffy but so much. You just build him up a little bit and build the story around him. Character development. He wants to know how Luffy is changing. Luffy don't have to change. Character development doesn't necessarily mean you have to change per se. And what I mean by change is in one arc you're one way, and then the next arc you're another way. That doesn't necessarily have to be character development. Luffy's character development is usually him strengthening his beliefs in what he's doing, getting remotivated, you know, building up morale. That's usually how he's developed. Like with the Shibondi thing, he comes back more reinvigorated and more strengthened in his beliefs to get One Piece, and that's pretty much it. You know, that's character development. Reason being, because that happens in real life. A lot of characters can, instead of actually changing, they can just reinforce their beliefs and be remotivated, reinvigorated, build up morale and stuff like that. That's character development. You know what I'm saying? If you have a good goal and you keep strengthening your goal in that, that's development. That's development. I'm slobbing all over the place. About him always being on the morally right side. In Skypiea, when they were getting ready to steal the gold, when they was getting ready to leave Skypiea, Luffy said, "Let's take this gold, you know, from Skypiea." And the crew was like, "Take that." He said, "Why would we do something like that?" The crew was morally right, and they said, "Why would we do something like that?" Then Luffy says, "We're pirates, man." He said, "Man, we're pirates. Just take it." And they took off running, laughing. So they pillaged one time. Another thing is, Robin and Frankie was on the opposite side. Frankie hurt one of his teammates, and Luffy let Frankie join. So Luffy doesn't always, you know, become friends with the the best people ever. He doesn't always come across, like Uber said, Luffy always come across good characters and having to be make friends with them. Frankie and Robin, that it didn't happen with them. Frankie was beat up Usopp and all that kind of stuff. He was on the opposite side of Luffy. Robin was working with Crocodile, who beat Luffy up. So that's just not true. 2 instances where that happened, which is what is that? 2 out of 9 people. So that's that's almost 1/3 of the crew. Actually, it's 2 out of 8. That's 1/4. It's 2 out of 8 because we're not counting Luffy because we're talking about Luffy. So 1/4 of the crew is like that. You know, wasn't on Luffy's side to begin with. Matter of fact, Nami wasn't either at a certain point in time, and he still went and got him back. So that's that over 1/4 if you count her. But about him only getting in conflicts which involve his friends. What about Captain Morgan and Helmeppo? He got mad because the girl told him what the types of bad things that Helmeppo and Captain Morgan was doing. They had nothing to do with friends. He was by himself at the time, but said no, he was with Kobe at the time. But Kobe didn't tell him to get involved in all that kind of stuff. Luffy did that because he was mad about the injustices that was going on in that island, about what about what Captain Morgan was doing to those civilians. So there's one instance, Aokiji. He got mad at Aokiji, wanted to fight Aokiji. He wanted to get into some conflict with him, not because of his friends, because I think that he looked down on Luffy, and that's why Luffy wanted to get into a conflict with him. He thought Luffy couldn't, beat him. He was like, "Man, I ain't worried about you." And Luffy said, "He's like, you're not worried about me, man. I can die. I'm Luffy. I'm Straw Hat Luffy, whatever." So Luffy doesn't always get into a conflict just because his friends get hurt. Another instance is when Luffy is fighting Zoro. Luffy's fighting Zoro because Luffy felt Zoro was being disrespectful towards other people because they were being courteous to him and to Zoro and the rest of the crew, and Zoro winds up fighting him. So he gets mad at Zoro because of that reason. So it didn't have anything to do with being friends and all that kind of stuff. It had to do with Zoro being disrespectful. Okay, so Luffy makes friends fast. That's true. But there's a backstory behind that we still didn't get to. Did you see the war where Whitebeard was discussing, Luffy? He had a discussion about Luffy, and he said that he was one of the chosen ones, blah, blah, blah. And they revealed that he got all that charisma and morale and corral from wherever. We won't know until we get to One Piece. So Luffy is not finished being developed until One Piece. We'll never get the full story until One Piece is found. And about the world government, I think is one of the most interesting things in One Piece. I gotta agree with Uber on that point. But the thing about Luffy not caring about the world government, so what? What do you mean he doesn't care about the world government? We don't. Look how messed up governments are, and certain people just don't care. Communism is still out there. Look at how our economy is messed up. And there's still people that function that don't care. They just don't care. You know what I'm saying? As long as it don't hurt them directly, they don't care. That's real. That's real. That's real. I can't say nothing more than that. It's real. Luffy don't care, but also Luffy's past is tied in with the world government and the Void Century and everything else, so we still gotta wait till the end of One Piece to get that. There's a one-shot for One Piece called Romance Dawn. Now, in Romance Dawn, Oda has Luffy goes to this island, and Luffy winds up fighting against a pirate called Crescent Moon or whatever. And he reveals that there's two types of pirates. He said there's two types of pirates. He said there's peace mains and another type of pirate. I can't remember. I've reread it maybe 2 or 3 times, but that was a long time ago. I think it was like 2007 where I read it. But anyway, he revealed that there's two types of pirates. And basically what that did was make a black and white. There's one type of pirate and there's another type of pirate. Pirates are good and bad, but we know that some pirates are good, some pirates are bad. So it makes a black and white split between pirates. Also, it makes a black and white split between Marines. It's like It's like some good pirates and some good and some bad pirates against the Marines. That's what that makes. It makes that void. And what I'm trying to say by that is that Oda already had that in mind about this black and white world thing. So when he made One Piece, he said, I'm getting rid of that, and instead of doing it, instead of saying it, I'm just going to show it. So we got some pirates like Shanks, Whitebeard, Luffy. They're good pirates. Luffy said in Romance Dawn that he wanted to be a good pirate. Just flat out came out and said it to some girl. I can't remember what her name was, Silk. So Oda already had in his mind that Luffy was going to be a good pirate. So he already had that thought out. Now, the thing about him always being on the good side, instead of Oda, basically just having Luffy come out and say it again, what he did was he just displayed it in the story. And basically, there's a backstory that we won't get to until we get to One Piece to figure out why he acts the way he acts, completely why the way he acts. So Luffy is a good guy, and that's just all there is to it. It ain't no saying it. He just shows it, and like attracts like. So it makes sense that good people, when they run across good people, they want to make friends with them. Like attracts like. I don't want to hang out with an evil person. That's just not me. So yeah, Oda already had that in his mind, and that's the way Luffy was going to be set up from the beginning. So what I mean by that is that's. If you look at One Piece, you can tell that's what it was set up to be. Luffy was supposed to be a good guy, and that's just all there is to it. And he gets that from Gold Roger, Shanks, and whatever, the Void Century and all that kind of stuff. We'll get to that when we get to the end of One Piece, which is taking too long, but oh well. Peace.